Ready? This is it!
Before I start this video, like always, be sure to give me a like and a follow, as it does help out the channel and shows that you enjoy this type of content. Lastly, I'd like to thank you all for 3,000 subs, as it does mean the world, and I do have a 3K special just for that, so be on the lookout for it. But with that being said, let's get into this video. Who will win in a battle between the likes of Shaman King's Yo Asakura and Yu Yu Hakusho's Yusuke Urameshi? Some of you may remember I made an edit between these two that has since been deleted on YouTube, so I decided to actually explain and even update my take on this matchup. For this matchup, I will be taking Yo from the end of the OG Shaman King manga, as I haven't finished Shaman King Flowers or Superstars, while I'll be taking Yusuke from the end of Yu Yu Hakusho. Lastly, I will be providing two possible ways of scaling for these two characters, with one of them being the lowest and one of them being the highest, so you may take whichever form of scaling that you see fit. And if you have anything different, be sure to let me know in the comments below. But let's find out who's stronger between the two.
Battle routine, set, execute!
For attack potency, I'll start off with Yusuke, as both of his explanations are pretty easy. In the chapter Black Saga, we're introduced to spirit classes, which acts as our power hierarchy, ranging from E class, aka regular humans or weak demons, to S class, which are the top tiers of the verse. Each class has three phases: the lower end, the middle, and the upper end of the class. For example, Sensui, the antagonist of this arc, is a lower S class fighter, while at the end of the series, all of Team Urameshi, except for Genkai, all reach the level of upper S class. We also know that the power difference between a lower and upper S class is seemingly massive. Now, why does this matter, you may be asking right now? Well, Sensui, as a lower S class fighter, threatens to destroy the entire planet just by showing anything more than 1/5 or 20% of his full power. Yusuke questions him on why he won't go all out, seemingly stating that he does want to destroy the planet, to which Sensui responds and explains that he loves the planet and just hates humanity, prompting him to take the fight into Demon World so that he can let loose, showing that Demon World is more capable of handling an S class demon's sheer power and strength. All of Team Urameshi proceeds to get folded until Raizen, Yusuke's ancestral father, takes control, awakening Yusuke's power and body Sensui for him. Yusuke afterwards goes off to Demon World to train for 3 years with Raizen and his men in order to control his powers and show Raizen who's the top dog. However, Raizen eventually dies, leaving his territory vulnerable for the other two Demon Kings of Demon World, Makuro and Yomi, to take over, shifting the balance of Demon World. In order to combat this, Yusuke proposes a tournament in Demon World in which he's pitted against Yomi. Now, in the manga, this fight is completely skipped over. Even though we do know that Yusuke eventually loses, we don't know how much of a fight he put up against Yomi. In the anime, this is very different, as in the beginning of the fight, Yomi is beating down Yusuke while our protagonist is having a midlife crisis, trying to find a reason for why he fights. After realizing what he's fighting for, Yusuke then shifts the tide of the battle, skyrocketing in power, mixing his spirit and demon energy together, gaining a new type of energy that is compared to Sensui's sacred energy, but in a different way. Keep in mind, this fight goes on for about 60 hours, or roughly 2.5 days. It is important to note that at the beginning of this fight, Yusuke compared himself to Shura, Yomi's son, who couldn't do anything to Yomi before getting bodied by him. However, mid-fight, Yusuke grows so strong that he's able to clash and even go blow for blow with Yomi before ending in a final clash, just barely losing against Yomi. In their final confrontation, both perform this feat where they clash and cause a big energy beam to appear. Shout out to, and I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Atari_HMB, in which he calced this feat to 229.7906 yotatons of TNT, reaching the large planetary levels of power. And even if we were to divide this feat in half, since it's a conjoint feat, this would get us to 114.895 yotatons of TNT, which is still in the large planetary ranges of power. I'll leave a link to his channel so you can go follow him. His content is amazing. Not only that, we have this statement from a DVD guide that claims that Yusuke has the power to destroy a small star. With this method, if we were to take that statement literally, we can scale Yusuke anywhere from large planetary level to small star level with attack potency. I know that was a lot of explaining for something so bare, but I do wanted to just prove that at the end of Yu Yu Hakusho, these characters do reach the planetary levels of power and aren't just multi-continental like a lot of people say they are. With the first method out of the way, we can go to the second and higher form of scaling for Yusuke. Returning back to the chapter Black Saga, we have this feat where Kuwabara slices through a hyperspace with his spirit sword. Keep in mind, a hyperspace can be defined as a space with more than 3 dimensions, making it at least 4th dimensional. Kuwabara at this time was only an A-class fighter in terms of strength, so the logic would be that if Sensui and Yusuke outscale him at this point in Sensui's case, that would make every S-class fighter at the end of the series at least Universal Plus in terms of attack potency, which is a massive jump from where we first scaled Yusuke with the first method. Now let's move on to Yo. However, before I get into his feats, I should explain the power system of Shaman King briefly. In Shaman King, shamans use their guardian ghost in two ways, those being spirit unity, where the shaman gains the combat experience and powers as they unify with their ghost, and the more impressive of the two being spirit oversoul. With an oversoul, the guardian ghost is placed inside an object, usually a weapon that has sentimental value to the spirit, utilizing Furyoku or mana. In order for this to happen in Yo's case, he places his guardian ghost Amidamaru inside the spirit sword. Throughout the series, this technique is described as a metaphysical construct, with said construct growing in power and becoming more refined in terms of design. Remember this detail as it'll be important for later. Now for his attack potency, we're in the last fight against Hao or Zika Sakura, the new Shaman King who casually absorbs everyone's soul that is currently on the planet into him just by looking at them. Each of Yo's friends, those being Ren, Tao, Horohoro, Jako, and Lyserg, are gifted one of the 5 elemental spirits, those being the spirit of earth, thunder, water, wind, and fire. Depending how you take this Big Bang statement in the manga, it can be taken as all of the elemental spirits together are comparable to a Big Bang, aka a huge explosion that caused the creation of the universe. Seeing as there are 5 elemental warriors and the energy in tons for universal attack potency being at least 6.75 times 10 to the 82nd power tons of TNT, if we multiply it by 1/5, we get about 1.3504 E plus 82 tons of TNT or small star level. Some would argue that this would fall under hacks instead of actual attack potency. However, I'd say that those people claiming this would be wrong, as Furyoku needs to link up with the attack in question, as if the user is low on Furyoku, they're incapable of performing the technique altogether, showing the link between stamina and overall energy output. This is also backed up by Yo's grandfather, as he explains how the more Furyoku a user has, the stronger the oversoul becomes. With this, I would comfortably have Yo anywhere from small star to possibly complex multiversal levels of attack potency for our first way of scaling. Before I go on, even before recording this video, I've seen downplay on Yo with people only getting him to multi-continental via scaling off a Ren blocking Hao's attack, which I feel is only taking the count into consideration while ignoring the surrounding statements and context in that fight. The downplay stemming from Hao possibly just overhyping himself and these statements being taken as hyperbole. However, I'd say the same thing for Sensui, so if you're going to argue for one, you have to argue for both. In which case, both of them have no need to overhype themselves as they have been risen to new heights and actually can finally let loose. Just thought I'd mention that before someone mentions it in the comments. As for the second way of scaling Yo, think back to a few seconds ago when I mentioned the concept of oversouls being described as metaphysical constructs. Metaphysics can be described as a branch philosophy that studies the fundamental nature of reality and the first principle of things, which consists of being, existence, identity and change, space and time, cause and effect, necessity and possibility, with a metaphysical construct being interpreted as a physical or above the physical realm we reside in, to explain in simple terms. The reason this is important as the second possible tier you can get Yo to is outerversal, as this can be used to prove that Yo possibly has type 3 transduality. Transduality being defined as the state of being wherein an entity exists independently of and qualitatively beyond various dual systems, ranging from very specific limited sets of dual distinctions to duality itself on a conceptual level. Or just simply use this to add further validity to the verse being around 4 to 5D, with the mention of concepts such as space and time, cause and effect, as well as identity and change, in addition to the idea that Hao scales above the laws of nature, logic, and reason. There could be an argument for Hao as well as the 5 elemental warriors being transdual beings and having type 3 transduality, thus scaling them to 1A or outerversal. Yo, like I said, would scale to this as he's shown to counteract Hao's attacks, thus making him around this level. However, by no means am I saying that Yo and Hao are relative to one another. Regardless of which method we use, he does have a significant advantage in terms of attack potency, as well as the same thing going for durability, so we will grant both points to Yo. Next, we move on to speed. This time we'll start off with Yo, in which he should be comparable to Ren, who was able to dodge lasers and utilize natural lightning early on in the series, making him massively hypersonic at this point. You could also make the argument that since lightning has the light flash that moves faster than the actual strike, there could be an argument for Yo being around relativistic to FTL, seeing as his mass Furyoku level is around 100k, while at that point in the story it was much lower. Adding on to FTL Yo is his reaction to the black hole in his fight against Hao, in which a black hole sucks things up faster than light can even travel, in which you would need to move way faster than the speed of light in order to do. There could also be an argument for him having irrelevant speed due to tier scaling if we use the universal scale for him. Moving on to Yusuke's speed, we know that his spirit gun has light-based properties such as reflecting off of mirrors and even being stated to be light. This is relevant for his speed scaling, as earlier on in the series, Hiei was able to dodge it at point blank range, in which this is calced at 10 times faster than light. This is consistent in my eyes as characters such as Musashi uses photon beams in Genkai's tournament against Kurobara. I bring this up as some may argue that these feats are outliers since Yusuke fails to dodge lightning-based attacks and even outrun a truck, therefore making these outliers, in which I'd argue that by saying that those characters that blitz Yusuke should be comparable to Hiei, and the truck that he failed to outrun being amplified by spirit energy. With this, I'd finalize Yusuke's scaling in terms of speed anywhere from FTL to FTL plus, possibly reaching the NFTL ranges, seeing as this was Yusuke at C class and is now an upper S class, and we know that the massive gap in power also translates to speed. All in all, this category I'd say Yusuke has the clear advantage of, as Yo's speed scaling is much more iffy to me in this case. Originally, I had said that Yusuke was going to win this point for stamina because he was able to run across Demon World for 4 days straight and fight at full power for 2 days straight. However, when I look back at how oversouls are portrayed in the anime and the manga, Yo would only lose Furyoku or Mana if his oversoul is broken, which we already concluded that his AP and durability are much higher than Yusuke's, so this wouldn't be the case. So the point of stamina would technically go to Yo. However, I am going to bend the rules and give Yusuke a point for overall stamina, as Yo does not have the stamina reserves that Yusuke does, like I said before. Next, we go into the hacks and abilities of these characters. For Yusuke, he has access to flight, stats amplification, energy manipulation, extrasensory perception, enhanced senses, non-physical interaction, possession, and accelerated development. As for Yo, he has access to durability negation, purification, extrasensory perception, flight, earth and gravity manipulation, soul absorption, air manipulation, summoning, precognition, and shockwave generation. As you can clearly see, Yo has the better kit when it comes to hacks and abilities, so we're going to give this point to him. The last two categories we can go over are IQ and Battle IQ, and while both aren't known for their academics, especially in Yusuke's case where he scores 12s on his test, we can say they're both around equal in terms of intelligence just to be on the safe side. As for their Battle IQ, both have shown to be geniuses when it comes to the battlefield, outsmarting characters that have a lot of experience in combat while also being able to improvise mid-fight. So when it comes to Battle IQ, I'd say it's fair to give them both the same point for me personally, as I don't see either one of them having a better Battle IQ over the other. Before I get into the winner of this fight, I just want to thank everybody who's made it this far into the video. It does mean a lot to see that people aren't just watching a few seconds into the video and then leaving. So if you are here and enjoying the video, please comment down your favorite character from either series. And if you haven't watched both, then just comment your favorite character down in the comments below in general. From Yu Yu Hakusho, I really can't decide between anyone from Team Urameshi. However, as I watched the show, I did lean towards Yusuke himself more, seeing how funny he can be at moments and how serious he can get when he needs to get stuff done. As for Shaman King, it's easily Hawa Sakura. From his light-hearted moments to how badass he can be, it's always a sight to see when he's on screen, not to mention the fact that he became Shaman King before Yo. How many villains can you say had the same goal as the protagonist and actually achieve that goal before said protagonist? Anyways, enough of my rambling, let's get back into the video. So when it comes down to a 1v1, who takes this fight? Well, it should be obvious that Yo takes this, as out of the 8 categories we've listed, Yo finishes with the score of 6 out of 8. Meanwhile, Yusuke finishes with a score of 4 out of 8. So how would this fight play out if we take their personality traits into consideration? This doesn't affect my decision in the slightest. I just thought it would be fair for those who want to know, aside from me just saying this character out-hacks the other, or they speed blitz because apparently people have issues with that reasoning, leaving others unsatisfied with their response. Now when it comes to personality, Yusuke is the typical hot-headed shonen protagonist and is known for being aggressive as well as smart mouth, while Yo is the complete opposite, being more calm and collected unless his loved ones are in danger, in which he gets extremely angry as seen with his fight with Faust. Knowing Yusuke, he may not do this despite his morality being questionable, as he's completely okay with his ancestral father, Ryzen, being on the verge of dying from starvation, yet Yusuke has no problem with him eating humans so long as he can fight Ryzen at full power, kinda like Goku. So knowing that Yusuke in most cases wouldn't harm anyone, like Anna or Manta, Yo's wife and best friend respectively, I don't see Yo going into a blind rage to kill Yusuke. Instead, what I see is Yusuke being highly aggressive with Yo parrying and countering his attacks. Yusuke's win con would have to be his huge stamina advantage over Yo, but that won't mean much when when Yo is attacking much harder and tanking Yusuke's attacks for the most part. It is highly possible that Yusuke will grow stronger throughout the fight. However, to reach Yo's level of strength, I'm not so sure of. Making the winner of this fight Yo Asakura.
Great operating.
Thanks for watching to the end of this video. This is probably the longest video I've ever made to date, and after many delays, it's finally out. I want to thank you guys for remaining patient and tuning in. I'll be sure to update you guys from behind the scenes more often. As I said throughout the video, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to give me a like and subscribe to the channel, as it does help out a lot. Also, there will be another poll up on the next matchup, so if you do want to see a specific matchup, be sure to vote and let me know what you guys think. With that being said, I've been your host Jojo, and I'll see you next time.